Welcome to a very special fans fight back on the PitchBoxing app. Myself, Martin Theobald. I'm joined by boxing fan, aficionado, somewhat involved, somewhat out. I'll see if we explain that later. Max Williams. How are you, Max?
I'm good, thank you, mate. I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. We're here. I said it's a very special one. We're focusing. We're kind of zooming in on one thing in particular in boxing this week. Fury versus Chisora 3. Because it needed a third fight, didn't it? I mean, the second one was not decisive enough, so it needed that third fight.
I think we all need to see it again. I don't think anyone watching that second fight
8 years ago,
we've all been quick to know what happens if these two guys fight 8 years later.
Yeah,
it had to be resolved, and I'm just glad they finally got around to doing it. Because...
I mean, the way that Fury beat Chisora to a pulp 8 years ago made him quit on his stool essentially, and Don Charles throw that towel in was not decisive enough. So
I also love this novel approach to boxing trilogies. Normally you have one, they each win one, and then you have the third one is decided. This one we're just going to go 2-0 and we'll just do a third one. It's like a sort of bonus. It's like a bonus disc on an album, something like that. But
let's work out how did we get here? Because all the talk was about Fury versus Joshua, and there was lots of will they, won't they fight? And Fury now seems to have won a £10,000 bet that he had with Frank Warren, saying that Joshua will never fight him. That was where all the talk was. That's where all the energy seemed to be going to. In the background, there was then Manuel Char was kind of chucking his name into the hat. And then we've ended up with Derek Chisora. How?
For the third time. I mean, also, as an aside, you'd have to slightly wonder about how serious they were about making the fight. I mean, again, who knows whose fault it was. But when your own promoter's betting £10,000 that this fight won't happen, it does seem to slightly undermine the likelihood of it happening.
Yeah. Now,
but I mean, how did we get here? I think there's three. I've been thinking about it, man. I think there's three things that really, I think people really have taken against for this fight. And the number one is obviously the fight itself. Obviously, anyone watching this probably doesn't need to get told why it's not the best matchup in the world. I mean, as you say, they fought, 2010, 2011, Fury won in points. They fought again 2014. Also 2014, people booed that fight, from what I recall.
I was there.
You went.
It was a hell of a card. That was the card that had Eubank Saunders on it at the Excel down in London. It was a hell of a card. You had Bradley Skeet was in a decent fight. It was Bradley Skeet, Frankie Gavin. It wasn't a decent fight to watch, but it was a decent fight on paper. We had Frank Buglioni there, all his fans. The event itself was good. It was really good.
Yeah, I remember watching it in a pub in Bermondsey, and to be honest, it was the Eubank Saunders fight, from what I recall, was the thing that dominated most of the build-up. And that's actually a funny example of those things where lots of people now say Saunders schooled him, and it was a split decision win.
Yeah.
And, that shows how, people can sort of...
revisionist
things over time. Yeah, exactly. Whereas Chisora Fury 2, that was not one of those. That was, I think Fury was asking the ref to stop it by round 9. I think people were booing. Again, you'll know better than that.
It was weird actually, because the whole event itself was fucking horrendous. It's the only way I can put it. Absolutely horrendous, in that it was, the security of the event was atrocious. And when I say that, I mean, you had people that were taking seats that didn't belong to them, and security were like, nah, I ain't get involved in that. You had fights going on in the crowd. I was driving for the evening. So I was entirely sober. You sat with people just wasted everywhere. The main event didn't start until kind of 11:30. You had people just sat smoking in the Excel. You tried to get out to the toilets. It was like walking through Saving Private Ryan. There were just bodies laid out across the concourse. anyone that was there will be able to back this up wholeheartedly. The toilet situation was disgraceful. So a lot of that stands out in my memory. And I say all of that to bring it back to, were people booing? I'm not sure whether they were booing the fight or the event by that point, because it was genuinely that bad. And that fight didn't come on until late. There was another fight on afterwards at about 12:30, the floated, which was Steve Collins Jr., if I remember rightly. Didn't get on till like 1 a.m. So whether people were booing the fact that it had gone on so long, or booing the fight in that Chisora was just getting beaten to a pulp, and Fury didn't seemingly have to do very much to achieve that.
No, I mean, that's it. And if you look at the next 8 years of their career, one of them has gone on to establish himself as, let's say, the greatest heavyweight of his generation, beat Vladimir Klitschko, knocked out Deontay Wilder twice, and the other one lost to Agit Kabale in 2017, among as well as 7 other people, I think. So, like, at the press conference, I know Fury was like, we're different fighters than we were in 2014. So yes, you are. You've got better, and he's got worse. And the disparity was fairly large to begin with. So, it's hard to overstate, I think, how predictable this one is. Like, and the two things, just, because again, I'm not going to go on about the fight itself because everyone knows this, but the two things, number one, you're going to hear a lot of words, punches chance.
Oh, yeah.
Next month. Like, Derek's got a punches chance. No, he fucking doesn't. He does not. The last guy he knocked out, I was checking this just before, did a bit of research. The last guy he knocked out was in 2019, and that was David Price. It's the last dude he knocked out in 2019. And if he connects with Tyson Fury, Fury's going to shrug it off. Absolute worst case scenario, Fury's going to get up. But I mean, tempting fate here, but I just don't see any way, shape, or form which can knock him. He will knock him out. He won't. And the other thing that makes you really realize how much of I don't quite want fast may be the right word, is that if there was any sense of jeopardy in this, people would be worried for Derek Chisora. He's 39 years old. He's going up against much more accomplished, hard-hitting heavyweight. You would be worried if there was any sense that this is, inverted commas, a real fight. People would be speaking out against it. I think maybe not quite the same way as Lucas Brown and Daniel Dubois, but certainly there'll be more of a backlash against, like, is this safe, and is this certainly a good idea for Chisora to be doing at his age? But no one is, because it's not really a real fight, is it?
Because it's two mates making a bit of money to allow Derek to sail off into the sunset, hopefully.
And genuinely, in one sense, good for Chisora. Like, good for Chisora for making a bit of money. Hopefully, well, I'm sure he's made plenty, but making a bit more. And also, like, for Tyson, he doesn't have to fight like mega events every single time. No one would begrudge him if he came back and fought a softer touch. But not the dude you've beaten twice already. And like, they're saying like, there was no one else. Daniel Dubois fighting on your undercard. There's someone else. There's literally someone else. That didn't take very long to find. Did Dubois beat Fury? Probably not. Almost certainly not. Would it be more enticing than Fury Chisora? Fuck yes. Is it fair that Dubois would get a shot before Joe Joyce? No, of course not. Okay, well, there's someone else as well. What about Joe Joyce?
You'll know very well. I spoke with Joe Joyce recently.
I know.
And he kind of put his hat in the ring for it, saying, yeah, all right, I could probably rock up in December and have a go at it.
I don't think he did enough. I mean, he should have really been like campaigning for that. As soon as it became clear that Joshua was going to fall through, he should have been, speaking, putting his face out there, speaking to anyone who'd have him, just demanding that fight.
I think
there might have been a bit more of a swell behind it. That'd be a fantastic fight. And he'd have taken, also quite why December the 3rd has now become like etched in stone. I don't quite know, but I'm sure he'd have taken that day. He fought Parker, 3-4 weeks ago now?
Yeah.
And that's enough. Like, it'd have been quite a quick turnaround, but he'd have taken it. I'm sure he'd have taken it. I expect he'd have taken it.
And I think when you go back to how it's being discussed and how it's kind of almost being framed, and as you say, nobody is fearful of the jeopardy that Chisora's in. There's probably a reason for this. When you have the promoter of the A side in Fury turning up at the press conference to announce it, having to print out the BoxRec rankings and take them along with him to justify why this fight is happening, you know this fight should not be happening, okay? I've never, ever, ever seen that happen before. You've had to print out the BoxRec rankings and take them along. Chisora's just coming off the back of a reasonable but close win over Kubrat Pulev. We've seen what Kubrat Pulev is about over the last few years. That is the best win probably on Chisora's record. A pretty old, damaged
Takam maybe, but
Takam perhaps. But I mean, who's Takam's best win?
But yeah,
we don't know. We don't know. Like, these are all just names that are sold to us through the machinations of promoters. I couldn't tell you who Pulev's best win is either, if I'm perfectly honest. Probably Chisora.
most likely.
Yeah. So, like, we just sold these visions, these dreams based upon BoxRec rankings. But outside of all of that, why on earth have they gone with the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on December the 3rd? Now, this is, to me, where the red flags start to appear. This is where there would be some serious questions were I not fearful of stuff in life.
Yeah, this for me is like the number 2 issue with the event as a whole, is that it's PPV, as you say, in Spurs in December. Like, in December, PPV, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, same day as an England knockout game, I think.
Potentially, yes. It's the
potentially.
That would be a 3 o'clock kickoff, I think, if England are in there.
You're probably okay, depending how far you've got to travel. I don't know.
They'll probably shove it on in the stadium, I guess, and then roll that straight into the box.
Well, of course. I mean, imagine just sitting there being like, shit, England-Holland's gone extra time, 2-2. I've got to leave, got to go watch Fury Chisora 3.
What would be a really good idea is sit and put it on in the stadium and get colder through the afternoon, right into the evening.
What's the weather like? Oh, yeah, it's raining. Of course, it's fucking December. I mean, I think you tweeted something like, if you buy a ticket for this, you headed, or you need...
you should spend that money on professional help, not on buying a ticket. That was
and obviously, that's, I'm sure, slightly overdoing it, but who is buying? Like, honestly, who is sitting there being like, this is, especially cost of living crisis, coming up to Christmas, World Cup's on, so people are going to be at the pub every other night. Basically, that's going to be, I'm already fucking both dreading the financial and physical trauma I'm going to put my body through when it comes to November, December time. So who, and I guess it's a Saturday night, but who is putting down their money to watch this and like traveling to watch this in the weather? It's bonkers. And I mean, will it get sold out? I assume someone's run numbers. I assume there's been market research or some kind of, something's been checked to ensure it's not going to be ridiculous. But I don't know. I'm
going to go out on a limb and say they won't tell us it's sold out. I don't think they'll be brazen enough to do that.
They haven't yet.
But I do think it will be full. I do think it will be full. And I think people need to maybe appreciate the difference between a full stadium and a sold out stadium. They're two very different things. I can give away lots of tickets to make a stadium full. Doesn't necessarily mean they've all been paid for. How that then looks on the books at the end of it, that's up to anyone to, creative accountancy. But somebody, as I tweeted something about this the other day, somebody replied saying, "Oh, haven't you ever been to a football match in December?" Oh, well, yes, I have. Of course I have. But that involves me standing in a concourse until 5 minutes before kickoff, going out. I've been to one at the Spurs Stadium in December, going out and watching 45 minutes of football, going back into the concourse at half time, going back out for the second half, and then going home. It doesn't involve me sitting for 4 hours in the same seat for
something that could theoretically end after 30 seconds. Probably won't. I suspect it's
Yeah.
going to go the full 12 rounds. I would indeed. I think I'm going to put money on not going the full 12 rounds, actually.
But
See
I mean,
some.
you'd almost be fearful doing that, in that it's two mates kind of maybe making a bit of a payday out of it, and could it potentially go the full 12 rounds?
God knows. I mean, try to have a look. I'm just going on the old ticket website now.
I had a look earlier this afternoon. You could buy tickets in every price category still.
Yeah.
All the way up
And
to
I'm not-
about $2.5 was the top. $2.5
I mean, it's just like honestly, anyone you almost sort of think fair play. Like fair play for having. You've got coaches as well, coach upsells. You've got from Cardiff. Imagine traveling from Cardiff to go and watch this.
For $2.5, I'd want to be running one of the corners.
I mean, you might as well get in, you know.
Yeah, for $2.5, I want to be MC for the evening. I want the full experience.
Yeah, it's fucking nuts, isn't it? And like again, in fact, it's on PPV, like pay-per-view. Again, who's buying? Like at least if you burn your £20, it will keep you warm for 5 seconds. But throwing it down, it's just crazy, isn't it? It's just this.
Does it make you, on a more serious note around it, does it make you wary of the impact it has upon boxing? Perhaps where I'm coming from with that is, if people do buy it, say, I don't know, let's say 100,000 people buy it, that's £2 million.
You don't want to be sitting here sort of. My view has always been, live and let live. You never want to sit in there, slag stuff off normally and be like, good, let them make their money. It's like with YouTubers, right?
Yeah.
I'm much more relaxed than most or many about YouTubers fighting, because like no one's making you buy the tickets, and fair fucking play. People want to go and watch, I don't know, Jeff D fight whoever, KSI, like fuck it, go for it. Not my cup of tea, but fine. But the worry is, if this is a success, and I don't know what will count as a success for it, but if it makes money, like, you do then worry, like, what's the incentive? It's a horrible thing to say, I want this event to crash and burn, but in a way, you feel there's got to be some kind of repercussions. Like, there's got to be some kind of pushback. There's got to be a line, right? There's got to be a line where, and I think this may be the line. If you look on Twitter, I was looking down the BT Sport Twitter feed earlier, and like the views on the clips, they put these clips out, like they're in the thousands, like low thousands, some of them. And that, Eubank Ben was getting millions for their ones. Like, low, it is really quite low for something with, like, I don't know how many.
Yeah, the engagement
just isn't there. And like everyone's, and it should be stressed, of course. Have there been worse fights? Yeah, sure. And if Fury does this and then fights Joe Joyce or Usyk next year, no, like, who gives a fuck? In one sense, but also, yeah, I don't know. Like, you also feel it has to be a point where, like,
yeah, see, the argument, I've seen it a few times, of like, yeah, it's not great, but it's not the worst heavyweight world title fight that's ever been made. It's not a race to the bottom. It's not. We shouldn't, as a sport, encourage it just because it isn't the worst fight that's ever been made. Like, there should be a stand against it, and it should be discouraged. And it feels like this year, boxing in the UK has been that race to the bottom. Been, okay, let's get a weight drain Chris Eubank to fight a potentially PED'd up Conor Benn and try and hide some of those facts and still allow it to go ahead. Let's get Joyce versus Parker and whack it on PPV on BT Sport for nothing in particular. Let's get Fury to beat up his old mate Chisora on pay-per-view to give Chisora a bit of a retirement fund. Let's get some people that have never fought before and shove it on DAZN on pay-per-view, despite the fact that we've said we'll never put stuff on paper. The whole thing has just been an absolute annus horribilis in
yes, I think that's the other thing, that in the one thing I will say, not quite in defense of the event, but in sort of mitigation, is it's not either there. It's no one's fault that this is coming on the back of an awful few months, like an awful few months of boxing, that I'm not even sure where exactly it starts, but you know, as a fan of British boxing, obviously there's not been much this year. There's not been much at all, and it's not even the most morally questionable thing that's happened this month.
No,
for sure. So yeah, I mean that's not entirely their fault. On the other hand, yeah, you know, you could have come out with a Joe Joyce fight, and that would have got people excited. And that's the other thing, which is their fault, 100% their fault, is why, you know, you're going to give us. You must have known the Chisora fight was going to happen anyway, but even if you didn't, pushing the AJ and making everyone think AJ was going to. I thought it was going to happen at one point because I genuinely thought they'd gone far enough down the road. There's been enough talk that it would be so damaging for both parties if it doesn't happen. And that's, I think, proved the case a little bit.
I've heard on very good authority that while the talk of AJ was ongoing, overlapped with that was the Chisora contractual terms. I've heard that on very good authority. Dev Sani at BT denies that and says that isn't the case at all. It wasn't until the Joshua stuff stopped that we started talking with Chisora. I've heard differently. They're both managed by the same lot, 258 management.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, if we take that at face value of what we're told, they didn't overlap. One happened and stopped, then we started the other. Why didn't you put that time that you started the other with Chisora? Why didn't you just allow that for the AJ talks to continue and finish rather than serve us up this garbage?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. And like no one thought that Joshua was going to happen until it almost felt like it was going to happen. But
they'll probably end up fighting consecutive weekends in December against crash opponents.
Almost certainly. It's just, and I think there's every chance, and obviously Fury said they're not going to fight now. I'm sure that every chance they might fight next year. But
no, I don't think they will. I don't think they will until they're old enough that it makes sense to happen on Triller or some other made-up pay-per-view station in America that's, I don't know, currently showing Terence Crawford fights.
The other thing I think that becomes really apparent is just you look at where's young boxers coming through? Who's the next star? Because you've got Joshua, you've had Fury, we've had a really good run of great personalities, great fighters for the last 10, 15 years. You know, I know there's a period when I started getting into boxing with David Hay about 2010, and then there's a huge good sense that you notice it becoming more and more mainstream, probably Frotch Groves too, sort of the benchmark when it starts. But it's hard to see where the next Fury or Joshua are. And again, of course, you're not going to get people exactly like them. They're, you know, one-offs in their own way, or even the next Eubank Jr., who's 32, or even the next David Hay, next Conor Benn, but that was meant to be Conor Benn. That may or may not happen, who knows? But yeah, there don't seem to be many PPV or many big stars coming through. I don't know if you disagree with that. I don't know if you can think of anyone. Daniel Dubois. That's why, again, fighting Dubois would almost been like beneficial, because I mean, it was never going to happen.
But you might have ruined the potential of him ever reaching that status and that gravitas.
Well, maybe, but he's already lost to Joe Joyce, hasn't he? But they put on during lockdown.
Yeah, maybe they learned a lesson.
Empty room.
No, I do agree, and I don't feel at the moment there's not that undercurrent, that wave of individuals coming through to fill the gap that's inevitably going to come in the next 3 to 4 years. But what I would say is that Sky Sports Boxer have got a number of young fighters coming through that I think will start to fill some of that gap when we're more familiar with their personalities. I think that's what we're lacking at the moment, is some of the personalities. But Max, run out of time. But
no worries, mate.
Thank you so much for coming on PitchBoxing, giving us your views on Chisora Fury. I assume you might be watching.
You know, well, like after saying all that, I'm not going to buy the PBV for sure, but I imagine I'll find myself in a pub on the Saturday. I imagine it may well be on the pub. At that point, I probably will watch, because, you know,
it'll roll on from the football through the entire evening.
Well, exactly, and it should just before we go, it is important to stress that the two boxers at the centre of this, you know, good luck to them. Obviously, Tyson Fury's helped millions of people with his mental health, you know, advocacy. That's fantastic. And as I say, no one begrudging either of them a payday or either of them, you know, a nice little retirement fund. It's just not this one, and I think the reaction across the board has kind of shown that. But let's see how it plays out. Thank you very much for your time, mate. Thank you for having me on.
No, thank you. Anytime, Max. Take care.
Cool. You too, bro.